Good morning, everyone. We have about 60 people and we'll wait a couple minutes. I'm Tom Meservey, your virtual host and chair of Sustainable Places 2020. It's great to be doing this. But before I start a welcome, which I don't intend to do, we'll just wait 1 or 2 minutes and then we'll kick off with Professor Christophe Menezaux's presentation, which will start off the event officially. So let's just stand by for about 30 to 60 seconds. And I can see we're up to 74. And I can see the first questions coming in. Ooh, the excitement of a virtual event. And Regis, I can see that some hands were raised. I can see that some questions came in. Anything that prevents us from getting started?
I think we are all okay to start.
And now we're up to 77, and I assume some more will trickle in, and let them trickle. But if we delay too much, then we just won't make it this morning. We'll be busy for the next 2.5 hours. It'll be a great opening session. And first up, welcome. Today we should be at the University of Savoy. We should be in Aix-les-Bains with the university and CEA, but we're not. We're virtual, and it's the right decision. And it's a pleasure to be here just the same. So as we kick off, our 2 hosts today would have been the University of Savoy, Mont Blanc, and CEA. So they will welcome us first. So with that said, let me hand off to Professor Christophe Menezaux, the Deputy Head of the Solar Academy and Graduate School, Head of the National Solar Research CNRS Federation, FEDESOL. Christophe, please take us away with Sustainable Places 2020.
Okay, thank you very much, Thomas. So I'm really happy to welcome you all, even if it is virtually. It's a little bit frustrated. As you can see, my bike side, it is half sunny and half snowy already. So welcome in Savoy. It's a great pleasure and great honor to launch this 8th ceremony of the Sustainable Places 2020. I will, sorry. So first, here, the issue regarding our topics and is to face urbanization and increase of access to electricity that is dramatically leading to a rise of demand of energy. But we have to answer to this issue by tackle also the issue of climate change, population increases and energy security, also resources and water scarcity and economic growth. So we have to play and to innovate in a complex urban environment where energy production, consumption cannot be dissociated from induced effect of pollution effects and local climate, it has the urban heat island effect. If we consider the cities, it's of course a large amount of energy consumption related to buildings, but if we are considering this territory, it's also include the mobility. And so in terms of energy, buildings plus mobility, urban mobility is a large amount of energy consumption, as it is 70% of primary energy. So this is the main stake, and sorry, and of course, this growth of end-use consumption results in electricity generation drastically increasing, and by 79% between 2018 and 2050. Even if the sanitary crisis of COVID inducing at that time a strong decrease of energy consumption and greenhouse gases emission. It's still a big issue for the future. So in this context, renewable energy technology have to play a significant role in the energy transition through, of course, active technology like for power generation, but also passive application. And our building environment is a very source of innovation in this area. Whilst helping to tackle these issues, the climate change, pollution increase, energy security, water scarcity, and economic growth, we have to lead some multi-scale research from urban territory to building and including also the coupling with the mobility. It's a very challenging topics. So this is in this context that here in Savoie we have launched last week the Solar Academy, which is a graduate school, which is focusing from the solar collect and transformation to integration in building and systems, and including also coupling with mobility and grid. It is essential to also go from a centralized energy production and consumption for local production and local consumption. So we can see that these topics are very suitable for what is developed in Sustainable Places 2020, as we can say keywords that are the next session. BIPV, district heating and cooling, smart city and community, digitalization tools, business, also low and energy efficient models. So all the topics that will be treated in the next week here. So the structuration of our Solar Academy is around 3 scientific poles that are dealing with the solar resource for multi-scale energy needs. So it is concerning building engineering, but also smart materials for energy collect and conversion, process engineering on air and water treatment, innovative power generation technology. The second scientific topics, it's around the digitalization of the solar resources for better reliability. It is a very important topics, and in this scientific poles, they are developing digital platform for measuring, monitoring, and improving energy efficiency of building, but also to have a quite accurate estimation of the solar production, and to also dealing with information technology. It's really essential in order to improve to the reliability of solar production, and based on the data mining, for example, and also the modeling of such a complex geometrical environment, which is urban territory. The third topic is around the implementation of planning for public policy, feed-in tariff, and to find a thought and contract that must mobilize moving from an isolated production consumption system to an integrated system. So the business and the law issues are really important if we want that the renewable energy in general, but in particular solar energy, could be very, very largely diffused. So this is our solar center, which is also including researchers from the CET and 7 laboratories of university in this 3 main field of interest. Regarding the graduate school, there is 2 master courses, one dedicated to engineering and one dedicated to business, with common lecture. So Of course, this Solar Academy has to be visible at national level, but internationally. And we have strong partnerships. Most of them will be present today and all this week at the Solar Sustainable Places Congress. And so there is technical centers as URAC, as Technalia in Europe, but also at an international level, experts from Europe at Concordia University, South America, UNSW in Australia, and Singapore, and so on. So thank you for all of you for supporting the Solar Academy, and we hope to have strong collaboration in the future in this framework. I wish a very great success of Sustainable Places 2020. And as I mentioned previously, I'm really frustrated to not have all here. And I hope that in a next and very short future, we can meet again physically. Thank you very much to all of you, and I wish a great success to Sustainable Places.
That's great, Christophe. Thank you. And congratulations on the Solar Academy. And I've been there. I've had the fortune to be here. It's a great place, a wonderful, beautiful location. So thanks for that. Perfectly on time as well. Our attendees are now up to 93. We continue to move in. And we'll now, by our second host, we should be at CEA today. We should have had some opportunities to visit at their facility. And we don't have that, but what we do have is the opportunity to have a few words from Sylvain Robert, who is the Deputy Director at CEA Liten. So Regis, if you can make Simon the presenter, and Simon, take us away.
Yes, hello, good morning. I hope that you can see my screen now.
Yes, we can see that, Simon, perfectly.
Okay, very good. So good morning to everybody, and I'm very pleased to be here with you today. As Christophe Menezo explained, it would have been very nice to have you in Aix-les-Bains in France, but unfortunately not possible. I would like to take this opportunity to present very briefly some research activities, some recent research activities that we have at CEA Liten. So as you know, CEA is a research organization based in France. We have several research institutes, including LETI, LIST, and Liten. And today I will make a short presentation about our research activities in Liten related to clean energy technologies. So a couple of words about CEA Liten. So we are a technology research institute developing new technologies for the clean energy transition and focusing mainly on renewable energy, on energy storage and conversion, and as well on energy systems and the circular economy. We are around 1,000 people based both in Grenoble and in Chambéry in the French Alps. And in the Chambéry campus, we are located in the INES campus, where we collaborate with our colleagues from the University of Savoie, from CNRS and CSTD. We are strongly collaborating with industry. We have every year more than 200 contracts, direct contracts with industrial partners, and we are also quite active in European projects with around 100 ongoing European projects. Yes. So on photovoltaics, on renewable energy, we are really focused on photovoltaics, and here we try to cover the full value chain, starting from materials to cells, modules, and systems, and to end of life, and with a strong focus on crystalline silicon solar technology, and as well on tandem cells to increase the efficiency above 30%. This is one example of recent activities that we have on solar photovoltaics. We are developing so-called silicon heterojunction technology, which is a high-efficiency solar photovoltaics technology. You can see here on the picture our pilot line in the ENES campus in Chambéry, where we can produce more than 2,000 wafers per hour to develop this silicon heterojunction technology. And recently we have achieved a record cell efficiency of 25% with this technology, which is probably the highest efficiency obtained in Europe on industrial scale wafers. And we are strongly collaborating with different industrial partners, including Meyer Burger and Enel Green Power. And Enel started the production of this silicon heterojunction technology in Italy, in Catania, with a capacity today of 200 megawatt per year. Besides renewable energy, we are also working on energy storage and conversion. This is more an activity done in Grenoble, not so far from Chambéry. And we are working on batteries, same story as for photovoltaics. We try to cover the value chain, starting from battery materials up to cells, BMS and packs, and end-of-life management. This is just a couple of recent examples from our research on batteries. So on this slide, you can see what we have done recently with our partner Solvay on new battery materials, and more specifically on new electrolytes, gel polymer electrolytes that can replace the liquid electrolyte to improve the safety of the batteries. And we have brought these activities up to the pilot scale, and now Solvay is bringing this technology to the industrial scale. And another example of recent activities on batteries is on battery systems, on battery packs, where we have worked quite a lot in the recent years with Airbus, and we have developed battery pack prototype to be integrated in different Airbus aircraft, prototype aircraft, electric aircraft, and drones. On energy storage and conversion, we are also working on hydrogen, which is a complementary way of storing energy to batteries. Like batteries, the interest is twofold, is both to decarbonize the transport sector, and in the case of hydrogen, we are more focused on the heavy-duty transport, but also to bring flexibility to the power system and integrate a higher share of renewable energy. And on hydrogen, again, one recent example of research activities, we are working on solid-oxide water electrolysis, which is a technology to produce hydrogen, low-carbon hydrogen, based on renewable or decarbonized electricity. And the advantage of this electrolysis technology is that we can reach very high energy efficiency compared to more conventional alkaline or PEM electrolysis. And we have demonstrated recently system efficiency close to 90% with this technology. Now we are bringing this technology to the industrial scale together with industrial partners, and some announcement will be made soon, I think, on that. A third research topic that we are addressing in CEA and in ENES with our partners and in the ENES campus are the energy systems, where we develop modeling and simulation tools in order to work on the optimal sizing of the energy systems, and also to do the development of energy management systems. What we can do also in the ENES campus is to test this EMS, these energy management systems, at the pilot scale, either in experimental buildings or in our smart grids, electric smart grids, or thermal network that we have in the ENES campus. And after that, we work with our industrial partners on field deployment and monitoring. So concerning the experimental validation of what we do on the energy management system and energy system in general, a first level of validation can be done at the building level. And for that, on the ENES campus, we have several facilities, including full-size experimental houses, also rooftop system to test test benches to test rooftop systems, and also a new facility which is not on the picture here to test facade elements. Then we can move to on energy system. We can move to a higher scale, which is a scale of the smart grid. And here we have facilities to test smart grid technologies on an experimental microgrid that we have on the INES campus, which is connected to several subsystems, including photovoltaic systems, battery storage systems, the experimental houses, and also a thermal energy network. And this is a third thing that we are working on, how to integrate and to couple the smart grid, the electrical smart grid, together with the thermal smart grid, so the heating and cooling network. We can do that also on the INES campus. And we are launching now this new facility, which is connected to several subsystems, including solar thermal collectors, heat pumps, cogeneration systems, and the coupling with electrical smart grid. And finally, last word about our research activities on materials and circular economy. As you know, the energy transition today is not only about replacing fossil fuels by renewable energy sources. It's also about the transition from a linear economy to a circular economy, especially because the clean energy technologies such as wind power or photovoltaics or batteries will require a lot of materials and sometimes critical raw materials. So moving to a circular economy is really mandatory. And here we are working on several aspects, so including the reduction of critical raw materials in the clean energy technologies, but also the second life and also the recycling, dismantling and recycling of different components, including photovoltaic components, batteries, and magnets. So thanks a lot for your attention. I wish you a very nice and pleasant virtual meeting, and I hope that we can see each other soon next time, probably for a meeting in the real world in Chambéry. Thanks a lot, and have a nice meeting.
Very nice. Thank you, Simon, and congratulations on all the achievements of your institution. Very impressive as always. Very impressive. Regis, if you'd make me the presenter, I'll be next to speak. We've made it up to 100 people in the GoToWebinar, and we topped out registrations at over 400. So this is a great success for us, and that's one of the reasons we're on this platform. We wish it was more interactive, but it is what we have to work with. I'm moving into sharing my screen mode. And Regis, can I confirm that you see my screen?
Yes, we see your screen, Tom. It's not full screen yet.
It's going there right now. Internet, please don't crash in the next 10 minutes. We do have a train that passes by and often cuts our signal to some degree. So my job is easy. I get to talk about this event and all of you, and you are all impressive. So this is something that's great. Let me turn, I do have my camera on. Okay, but I don't see myself anymore. Let's roll. So first, let's talk about our history and identity. Sustainable Places, what an event, starting in 2013 and 14. And we have one of the original founders of the event with us today, Sylvain Robert. He'll close this session today. And that first event was in Nice. Then it was in 2015 in Savona, Italy, welcomed by the university there. Then to Novatech in Angers, Biarritz, where we had an excellent social dinner on the beach. This was just wonderful. Then up with Nash and Tracy up at Teesside University in the UK, and they did a great job to welcome us all there. That was excellent. Then in 2018, we were here. We were at EASME. We were at the sale. We were going to go back this year, and it was great to see that facility. We have a lot of good pictures on our website, and each year, you know, we can almost say, I don't want to say it gets better and better, it's just all the places we go are wonderful, and you're all wonderful. And last year in Calgary was just excellent. We could spend all day looking at pictures from that event. And I'm going to switch back and forth on my screen. I see something a little bit funny, but I hope you all see the group picture at the top, which is the community that is starting to build around this event and conference. And as I mentioned, this year we're 400. So it would have been easier to skip this year, but we're glad we're all here, especially for us. Organizing this event has been a little bit different than usual, but we could feel the demand. We were asked to make this effort. Especially this year, projects need a place to come together and cluster. So it's we're very happy we've done that, and the response has been what it is. We have almost 100 projects here today, and over the next 4 days clustering together around this topic area. 32 sessions and workshops, that's more than we've ever had. We have 4 nice sponsorships. We're grateful for each one of those. And we have great presentations from the European Commission touching the Green Deal and the newly launched EU Bauhaus, which we'll talk about on Friday afternoon at the closing ceremony. And here, you know, we always have to look at the positives. So by going virtual, we're saving those travels, we're saving that carbon, and there are also benefits in that. Although seeing each other, there's no replacement. Over the event, the promotion of this event and the cross-posting by you and your projects has been amazing. The Sustainable Places hashtag. One thing I would encourage everyone to do, I go back to that group picture from last year, is the community that is building here is unbelievable. And I've seen projects form together. I've seen people recommend each other for jobs. I've seen recommendations. We've seen promotions. So that's one of the most rewarding parts, is seeing the community. So I would just encourage you, you know, everybody's trying to promote, everybody's trying to do a good job. Everybody needs a little extra support this particular year in 2020 with all the difficulties. So I just encourage you to follow each other, cross-post, connect each other's projects, help them connect to different places. And it's one small thing that we can all do. We look a little bit like this. Here's our project and some organization dashboard for this year. We keep updating it. It's available on the website, and you're all impressive. It's great. Here we list our organizers, our sponsors, support by the region, our media partnerships, and of course, all of you for being here. We're now up to 102 in the session. And then I can't thank enough. We have 5 parallel GoToWebinar sessions and licenses operational this week to support all the different sessions. That always requires 5 to 6 to 7 people to be staffing those, to take everyone through the rehearsals, to answer all the emails, to do so thanks to all the staff for that. It's finally here, and it's great that it's coming together. So I'm just going to flip super quickly through our workshops and agenda just to highlight those. And I'll show it at the end. Everyone in their registration email got a hyperlinked agenda. All you have to do is click on that to get to each individual session that you need to register to get to one of those 5 individual GoToWebinar platforms, so you get to the right session. And they're individual links, so you have to go through that process, and that's part of just being digital. So here we are, the opening session, and this afternoon there are workshops. Across the track, the Sustainable Digital Infrastructure Alliance has thematic sessions across the program. So they're operational every slot of the event. So I show their banner. This afternoon we have an exciting BIPV thematic session on building integrated photovoltaics, chaired by EREC, a sponsor and involving 5 really nice projects. We also have a circular economy for the built environment workshop with the listed projects organizing that. Workshop on integrated home renovation services. And maybe you have an agenda in front of you. Maybe you have a piece of paper and you can write down the ones you don't want to miss, because it's easy to only attend either the opening or closing, or maybe only your workshop. You know, we don't have everyone here at this opening. And that's another thing I would encourage everyone to do, is just to get involved with each other's workshops, because everybody would like to have attendees. And that's going to be even harder this year because we're not all together, and we don't get the drift into different rooms effect. Here's a workshop on smart cities and communities this afternoon. And then that finishes today. Tomorrow is a full day over here to the side. We start at 9:30. We go right until the end of the day at 1700 with all of these sessions and workshops. Very quickly, again, the STIA is operational. There's a smart buildings workshop. Very good topic for this year, organized by the ECTP. Workshop on the integration of renewable energy technologies and district heating and cooling solutions for sustainable living. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 projects involved in that. Workshop on digitalization tools for energy efficient renovation. Our BIM projects, our digital twin projects getting together. Great topic. Behavioral change towards energy efficiency by using ICT tools, chaired by Utali, involving 5 projects. A workshop on sustainable energy skills in the construction sector. A group of excellent projects, as they all are. Energy communities in practice. A workshop, the what and the hows. Merlon, Muse, Electrics, Compile. And then that takes us to day 3. And bear with me just one more minute just to highlight these workshops. Again, it's a full day, 09:30 to 17:30, with sessions and workshops. The SDIA remains active all day. Energy efficiency solution for small and medium-sized enterprises workshop. Workshop on integrated storage systems for residential buildings involving 4 projects. Working on that topic. Sustainable digital tools for energy actors, 5 projects. Energy transition on European islands, chaired by Nazoy, the European Island Facility, and involving 6 European projects, to include a cascade funding mechanism, launching their first call for projects ongoing by Nazoy. A workshop on renewable heating and cooling solutions for building and industry. This, I think, is the workshop with the most projects involved. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 EU projects clustering in a workshop. Flexibility 2.0, demand response in buildings. 7 projects involved here. Demand response, transition to the smart grid. It's happening, starting to happen in Italy. Great topic. Workshop de-risking energy efficiency investments, chaired by E-Invest. Sustainable mobility, e-mobility workshop involving 6 projects. And then finally, to day number 4, the SDIA is still active. Innovative solutions supporting NSEB renovation EU residential buildings, contributing to the Renovation Wave. And one of our upcoming keynotes from the European Commission treats the Renovation Wave in just a few minutes. So there's a workshop on that on Friday. Peer-to-peer energy trading platforms for European Energy Communities workshop. Sustainable housing supporting health and well-being, chaired by Technalia. And finally, the Deep Renovation Joint Workshop 2.0, which finishes up all of the workshops. So here is the PDF I mentioned. I hope everyone here has that PDF. Just click on the links, get your link to go to webinar. That link is in your registration email. And if you get in trouble, you can email us, but keep in mind, we're often operating this platform and we can't follow email all the time. So we are available here to help, but give us a little bit patience or hit us on WhatsApp or Skype. And if you couldn't follow it all, don't worry, because we're recording these sessions and we'll hang them on the Sustainable Places website. We'll give them to all the projects. This is your material. Post it wherever we can so that we can make the widest dissemination platform available to everyone involved. And also for you, do help to make it more interactive, because we are limited by being digital. So use that question box. And we're sorry it's not everyone talking to each other, but if all 104 of us right now were talking to each other, it would be a mess. So I shift into awards and announcements. One thing that we're doing each year, Sustainability Trailblazers, is that we've taken a new company or a startup and we put them in front of all of you in a keynote so that they can have the opportunity to announce what they're doing. So 2 years ago here, when we were at ILEBEN, everyone had the opportunity to listen to this man pictured bottom right here to speak about GreenPass. And I just checked in on them, how they're doing. They are out of Vienna, Austria. And now they are starting to get a nice group of clients that are using their vegetation analysis, urban microclimate simulation platform methodology certification scheme to do projects like this. So this is one they just posted on LinkedIn, and there were testimonials from the project developers involved. So good for them. They're doing well, and that's always good to see. Last year, during the closing ceremony, we had Crowd talk to us about crowdfunding energy efficiency, and that this was coming, and they were about to launch their platform. I checked on their website, and wow, so now their platform has been launched, and people like you and me, and I think companies can go in here, and for this one, it's a requalification for what's called the Credito 110 in Italy, and it's a 12-month investment, minimum of 300. You get 5.5% back, and it's hard to get 5.5% on an investment. So we all have the opportunity as individuals to go crowdfund energy efficiency, and good for them. They've been featured in Forbes. They're making TEDx talks. They're all over the place. They're raising more capital from investors. So it looks like these two young individuals are doing what we all think about when you hear about entrepreneurship. So here in 2020, Sustainability Trailblazer. Here in just a few minutes, we're going to hear from Max Schultz, and he's part of the launch, or the head of the Sustainable Digital Infrastructure Alliance. And I don't need to say more about that because he's going to introduce it. But that's the Sustainability Trailblazer for 2020. And what's exciting there is it's not just a company, it's a platform to bring all companies together around a very important topic. So you'll have the opportunity to hear from Max in a few minutes. And then the Sustainable Person of the Year award. You know, if we had to give an award, it's to Regis Decorum, who is the core of the Sustainable Places Conference. I hear the virtual crowd noise and everybody cheering. He this year went electric with a vehicle. I'm still burning gas, and I feel bad about that. So talk is cheap and actions matter. So everything that all of us do, you know, matters. So actions, actions, actions. So great job, Regis. You've led the way. I too hope to go electric in the near future. I feel bad that I'm not. So great job, Regis. I don't know if we'll have everyone at the closing ceremony, so I'll announce it here, I'll announce it then, I'll announce it anytime I can. Next year, we're coming to Milan. So that's exciting for us because R2M is located right outside of Milan in a city called Pavia. And Milan is one of the top real estate markets for the next 10 to 15 years in the investor publications. So it's very exciting for us to engage the real estate players there and to combine those people working on energy efficiency finance on large urban projects to this scientific conference and the innovative products and services coming out of EU research, put those groups together and see what comes out of it. So we're really excited about next year, and we'll have a keynote from the Green Building Council, and Andrea Costa of R2M will talk a little bit about the successes we've had bringing some of the EU projects and services, products and services from research into the market here in the Italian and French and Spanish landscapes. So with that, let's get started. That's the admin on the event. Great. Next, I'll be followed by, and I'll flip the slide. So I'm just going to switch presentations. Let me set up the screen. Here we go. So I'll be followed by Margot Pinault, DG Energy, and Margot has been with us almost every year at Sustainable Places, and thank you, Margot. It's always great to have you. She gives us often first visibility and access to ask questions about what's new at the European question, and it's no different this year. So today she'll be talking to us about the Renovation Wave and the green recovery. And Margot, once again, thanks for being here. It's great to have you. I'll turn off my camera and take us away.
Thank you very much, Thomas, for a nice introduction, and thank you for inviting me for the fourth time to Sustainable Places. Good morning to everyone. I'm very happy indeed to be here at virtual sustainable places this time. And I will be very pleased to present you today indeed the recent policy context and funding, EU funding context that is driving on our continent the transition towards sustainability and climate neutrality, with a focus to most recent indeed initiatives, Renovation Wave, and in broader context the recovery, post-COVID recovery, which has to be green. The next slide, please. So the overall context, I must start by the European Green Deal, which is clearly the main priority of the current Commission under the current mandate. And it is clearly also the new growth and recovery strategy for Europe. It aims at climate neutrality by 2050, and it contains a number of policies, policy actions that are focusing on climate and environmental issues, from climate neutrality to biodiversity, environment protection, circular economy, and all the sustainability issues that are, of course, the global challenges. And most of these policy actions are already on their way to implementation. From the energy field, the most recent ones that you recall probably are the strategy on system integration and hydrogen strategy. And in the last month, it was the Renovation Wave strategy that I will present more in detail. The next slide, please. So staying in the broad context of climate policies, I'm sure you are all aware that the Commission announced in the European Green Deal its plan to increase the Union's target for greenhouse gas emissions reduction for 2030 towards 55%. And to reach this objective, the Commission planned to review the relevant energy legislation by June 2021. So it's important for everyone to know that the directives that are in the background of our discussions will be indeed revised by June 2021 in order to strengthen the policy action in this field. So the climate target plan that was adopted on the 16th of September proposed indeed the target of at least 55% of greenhouse gas emissions reduction by 2030, which is an increase quite substantial comparing to the currently mandatory target, which is of 40% at least. And the impact assessment of this climate target plan showed that the energy efficiency improvements must be significant in order to achieve this new higher target. And it was calculated that final energy consumption must be reduced by 36%. And just to recall, the current target for 2030 is 32.5% of final energy consumption reduction. And even this one is not normally achievable based on the commitments of national targets, because there is a ambition gap of 3%. So we are far from reaching this target, and it's very important to reach it in order to be on the pathway towards climate neutrality in 2050. Regarding buildings, the new climate target implies that the renovation of existing buildings must accelerate, and that the renovation rate must double in Europe. And this is indeed recalled in the Renovation Wave strategy. The next slide, please. All of this will require a substantial amount of investments. On this slide, you can see in blue the historical annual investments in different energy transition sectors and clean tech elements. In light gray, these are the additional investments that will be triggered by the policies that are currently in place by 2030. And in green, you can see the additional investments that would be needed to meet this new increased target, greenhouse gas emissions target of 55%. So the new policy measures will be needed to trigger these investments. As you can see, the highest investment needs are needed in the residential sector, both overall and also in terms of these additional investments to meet the new target on greenhouse gas emissions reduction. So the challenge is clearly on buildings. The next slide, please. So the investment needs are very high, but we must keep in mind that there will be the next slide, please. If you could please change the slide. I would like to highlight that the recovery plan for Europe will provide unprecedented support, public support from EU budget, but also from national budgets in order to relaunch, restart our recovery post-COVID, in the post-COVID world. This is a unique opportunity for Europe to accelerate the transition to climate neutral economy if this public support will be channeled towards investments in climate neutrality and sustainability. Here on this slide, you have a link to the speech of Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, who presented the recovery plan for Europe. I encourage you to watch it. It's really super engaged and mobilizing, because indeed it's a completely new chapter in the European integration that opens, because the response to economic crisis is really unprecedented in its scale, but also in its construction. The Union will borrow funds on the financial markets in order to support the recovery in the member states that were most affected by the crisis. So it's clearly a new, stronger European integration in front of us, and a great opportunity indeed to transform our economy and our society towards sustainability and climate neutrality. So in total, 1.8 trillion euro of budget will be available in the next 7 years period through these additional recovery measures. The next slide, please. And out of this 1.8 trillion euro of next generation EU budget plus MFF, 30% will have to be earmarked to deliver the climate goals for the European Green Deal. So it represents 550 billion euro of funding in the 7 years to come, which is the double that in the current MFF. The current MFF is allocating to climate relevant investments. So it's really a lot of money that will be able to stimulate these investments. And clean energy transition is clearly the main element of this, and energy efficiency plays a key role in the clean energy transition, because not only it matches basically both objectives, the green objective and the socio-economic objectives of the recovery plan. On the one hand, the energy efficiency plays a key role in the transition, in decarbonization, but also it creates local jobs, stimulate local economy, support SMEs, especially in the construction sector. As you know, 95% of the construction sector are the SMEs. So strong energy efficiency policies can contribute to GDP growth, and buildings energy renovation has a strong positive social effect, also by reducing energy poverty and improving living conditions of most vulnerable populations. So multiple benefits clearly give advantage of investing this public support in energy efficiency, and we hope that indeed this will happen and help us to achieve the targets. The next slide, please. And now a few words about the Renovation Wave. As said, this is most recent policy initiative. So it is the strategic communication from the European Commission. It was adopted on the 14th of October, and it contains the action plan for the years to come, calling for a concerted action at all governance levels, from local, regional, national to the European, in order to boost buildings renovation for climate neutrality, better quality of life, and economic recovery. And in numbers, it means that we will try to double the renovation wave rate by 2030, and it means 35 million of buildings to be renovated by that time. And also it means 160,000 green jobs to be created in the construction sector. And it also means minus 60% of greenhouse gas emissions from buildings sector, minus 14% of energy consumption, and minus 18% of heating and cooling energy consumption in buildings. So it's significant. Just to say that together with the Renovation Wave communication in the package, there was also energy poverty guidance that was adopted and the smart readiness indicator regulation. The next slide, please. The Renovation Wave will focus on 7 key actions, key families of actions that you will see in the slide. Yes, that's the one. I will go through these actions because are of very high relevance to our discussion today, I think. So first of all, strengthening information, incentives and obligation to undertake renovations. The Commission, as I already mentioned, in 2021 will revise the directives, Energy Efficiency Directive, Energy Performance of Buildings Directive. And within this revision, the Commission will propose to introduce stronger obligations, for example, for energy performance certificates, but also the phased introduction of mandatory minimum energy performance standards for the existing buildings. So the energy performance standards, as you know, exist for the new construction, but for the existing buildings, it was not yet the European law that was, let's say, introducing such an obligation. But in some member states, such an obligation already exists, and in the others, it's in the planning. For example, in France, by 2023, such an obligation will enter into force. So the Commission will also consider in putting in place such an obligation overall for the whole Europe, and that will be a very strong signal for buildings renovation indeed. It will also propose to extend the renovation requirements to all public administration buildings. Currently, the requirements concern only the central government buildings. In the future, all public administration will be under this requirement to renovate 3% of the building stock per year. Next, it will also propose introduction of digital building logbooks, integrating building data sets. It will consider introduction of building renovation passports for the renovation that are managed step by step. And finally, it will consider introduction of a deep renovation standard in line with the development of the EU taxonomy. So as you can see, very strong measures, of course, under impact assessment, and we'll see how they will be progressively put in place by the EPBD. Other families of actions that you can see here, I will not focus on them very much in the sake of time, but of course I encourage you to read the Renovation Wave communication and the action plan that is in the annex. So the second is about ensuring adequate and well-targeted funding. Here, as said, funds will be available for member states for the recovery in the recovery plans, and it's very important that the national recovery plans put buildings renovation as a priority for the recovery, and like this generate multiple benefits and channel this public support to buildings renovation. Increasing the capacity of public and private actors to prepare buildings renovation projects. It's about projects and technical assistance that will be strengthened, and mainly through a LENA facility. The fourth action is about promoting comprehensive and integrated renovation interventions for smart buildings, integration of renewable energy that will be fully integrated into the local energy context and districts and neighborhoods. Smart readiness indicator will play an important role here. The fifth action is about making the construction ecosystem fit to deliver sustainable renovation based on circular solutions, sustainable materials. So here policy actions will be taken by DG GROW, DG Environment, regarding, for example, materials recovery targets and supporting the internal market for secondary raw materials, etc. The sixth action is about addressing energy poverty. As said, the Commission also issued the guidance on energy and recommendation on energy poverty, and will launch an affordable housing initiative for 100 lighthouse projects to address energy poverty and worst performing buildings. And the seventh category of actions is about promoting decarbonization of heating and cooling. And here the policy action will be located in the Renewable Energy Directive, where the targets for decarbonization of heating and cooling are included, and these targets can be revised. So the next slide, please. Just to repeat that there are three focus areas in the Renovation Wave: energy poverty, renovation of public buildings, including administrative, educational, healthcare facilities, and decarbonization of heating and cooling. The next slide, please. Regarding funding, so the new bulk of public funding from EU budget will be channeled through recovery and resilience facility that in total has 672 billion euro, and 37% of this budget will have to be dedicated to climate initiatives. And this budget will be channeled to member states. And member states need to place buildings renovation at the center of their recovery plans, because on this basis, the investments support will be provided from this facility. And the Commission developed guidance, including also their renovation flagship, accompanying member states in this direction in order to indeed include renovation at the highest level of the agenda, of the recovery agenda. But apart of the recovery funds, the traditional, let's say, elements of the EU budget are still in place, and the bulk of, let's say, investment will be supported from cohesion policy funds, where the total budget is of 300 billion. And here regions, member states can support direct investments also in buildings renovation. The InvestEU is a new framework for financial instruments, providing guarantees and triggering private financing from the market by de-risking this financing. And also specific financial instruments can be developed for buildings renovation under the InvestEU. Finally, the Commission is working on facilitating blending solutions. It means making easier to put together different sources of EU budget and not EU budget funding, and create a more holistic approach to public support. Also, there is the revision of state aid rules to make it easier to invest in buildings and renovation, for example, or other clear objectives of the European Green Deal in order to be compliant with the state aid rules. Next slide, please. So, to sum up, the EU budget for Renovation Wave can be, let's say, categorized according to these categories. Support to direct investments, which will be directed through recovery funds, but also cohesion policy funds. The support to leverage private investments, so all types of financial instruments to de-risk the investments under InvestEU. The support to research innovation, on which I will have a separate slide, and here we will focus very much on transformation of the built environment, but also support to R&I for energy performance of buildings. Addressing market barriers will happen under LIFES, and here activities that were previously funded under Horizon 2020 CSAs will be placed to address the market barriers. I have a dedicated slide on this as well. And finally, technical assistance, ELENA facility. That's a project development assistance that will continue to provide support to project developers on the ground in order to develop their investments projects in buildings renovation. The next slide, please. Just a few words about this famous European Bauhaus project that was announced by President von der Leyen recently, and you have here the link to the statement about the European Bauhaus. So what is this? Well, this is a movement that is intended to build a bridge between the world of science and technology and people's needs in terms of comfort, aesthetics, culture. So the new Bauhaus is about making more tangible and comfortable, attractive, the sustainable living and sustainable built environment. So the new European Bauhaus will be a co-creation and experiment space for various actors involved in shaping the built environment in Europe. And its R&I dimension we clearly see to be developed under the partnership on people-centric sustainable built environment under Horizon Europe. So the next slide, please, is indeed dedicated to this partnership that was proposed under Horizon Europe. The aim is to deliver people-centric, holistic innovation, aiming at high-quality architecture for low-carbon, highly energy and resource-efficient built environment that is driving the societal and economic transition towards sustainability. It's very long to say, but it's very important indeed to be holistic, to be cross-cutting, transversal, and to deliver on various objectives that can be met in the built environment in order to create simply better living conditions for us and for the planet in the future. So this partnership is gathering partners across the whole buildings value chain and beyond construction and buildings themselves, and also involving users. So indeed, it is the people-centric approach. And the last slide is just presenting you quickly how this technology that will be created through Horizon will be accompanied by market, let's say, measures supported under LIFE. So LIFE will continue market uptake actions that are currently under Horizon 2020 energy efficiency goals. Its tentative budget for the clean energy transition is of 1 billion. We will focus on enabling actions for energy efficiency, renewable energy policies, removing market barriers, mobilizing investments, improving skills, empowering consumers, educating, and actions like that. So this is everything that I wanted to present you today. I hope that this gave context for the discussions, and I wish you all very fruitful discussions and exchange. Thank you.
Thank you, Margot. And I wasn't trying to rush you at the end. I don't know if you were advancing your slides or Regis was doing it, but a little funny there at the end. But thank you for the updates and the visibility into the renovation wave and where we're going with these new initiatives. So that's very good information. Thank you. And we'll hear from Margot again shortly. We're not behind. We are perfectly on time. But what we've done is we've gone through our break, and we're just gonna, since everybody's virtual, everyone has the flexibility to stand up, shake it off, refresh their coffee, carry their computer with them wherever they need to go. Be careful when you do that. And we'll move next then into the presentation from Max Schultz. And Regis, if you can make Max or...
Yes, Max is a presenter now.
Okay. From Max Schultz and Moen Gandhi. Max is the executive chairman of the Sustainable Digital Infrastructure Alliance, and Moen is the head of research at the SDIA, and they'll be presenting us a welcome and roadmap teaser to the thematic tracks and sessions that they'll be running all week, and what promotion we've been doing or they've been doing on LinkedIn for that. So great job, Max, Moen. Look forward to this. Let me hand it over to you.
All works. Thanks. But we're doing the break first, right? Just to make sure.
No, Max, we're going to go right into it because I know it was important for you to present right at about 11.
Okay.
So that, given that we're all virtual and everybody can break in place, if you will, let's just roll with it so we don't go late in the overall opening ceremony.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. Yeah, thanks for inviting us to the event. I first of all want to say thank you very much to Tom and the entire R2M team for setting up the event. I think it's really well done. The amount of content is impressive, and I have to say, to me, sometimes even overwhelming. It's incredible how many people you bring together, and we are very grateful to be part of this event. So thank you very much for making it happen. Really appreciate it. Moving into introducing ourselves, we have a very complicated name that we like to shortcut. We are the Sustainable Digital Infrastructure Alliance. We most of the time refer to ourselves as the SDAA. We are a non-profit industry association based in Germany, but with a mostly European view. We have participants from all countries in Europe and partners actually around the globe in the United States and Asia. We consider ourselves an industry-led agent of change to make the sustainable digital economy happen. And our work and ambitions, they span the entire value chain, as you can see here on this picture, of the digital economy, from energy, so the energy going into the data centers, to fiber, to software, basically covering the entire aspect of generating what we call digital power. And more will go into this a little bit later. So you've seen all these goals. We've also just seen a very nice presentation on the European Green Deal. And we know that as a society, to reach these goals, we need to do something. And it doesn't matter if it's the SDGs or the climate accords, but in order for us to do something from a business perspective, we believe that now industries now need to come together and focus on systemically embedding sustainability across the entire sector. And our roadmap, which we're going to launch during the Sustainable Places Conference now, enables this systemic change within digital infrastructure. So imagine the picture that you've just seen, and our roadmap essentially gives you the blueprint on driving the transformation of that entire picture. The roadmap in itself, it creates a universal language, what we call it. It creates metrics, it defines metrics, and sets shared targets that hopefully enable collaboration across entire industries towards a sustainable digital economy. So Mo's already there, so let's bring him to the stage and walk us through a little bit what we can expect from our roadmap.
Thank you, Max. So well, what does the future look like? What would a sustainable digital economy look like? And before I take you there, I just want to take you into the past. When coal, which was the fuel of 200 years ago, when that became radically cheaper, it kick-started the widespread adoption of steam and combustion engines, which led to the Industrial Revolution. Today, what we call digital power is that new fuel. Digital power is the fuel that drives the engine of the digital economy. Cheap and abundant digital power will trigger the digital industrial revolution in the same way cheap and abundant coal triggered the Industrial Revolution. We're right at the beginning of that Industrial Revolution. The applications and opportunities that would come from that are just enormous. So we're facing basically the opportunity of our lifetime to create the digital infrastructure that enables that future digital economy. And everything we know about materials, energy, buildings, circular design, life cycles, and so on, we can take all of that to make the digital industrial revolution a sustainable industrial revolution. We have an obligation to do that. We need to do that. We must do that. So that's what our roadmap does on Thursday at 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock European time. We launch our roadmap towards a sustainable digital infrastructure by 2030. It shows you where we're going, how we get there, how you can take part, and it's a really important step change in the way our industry deals with sustainability. So with that, I'd like to hand it back to Max.
Thank you, Mo. And I can honestly say that I'm very proud go like this. I'm very proud that we are launching this roadmap. Finally, it took us more than a year actually to come up with it. And I wanted to send a big thank you to Mo and the entire team of the SDA for enabling us to launch this roadmap this week. I'm really excited about it, to be honest. Like Mo said, this is happening on Thursday at 1 p.m. And we also have some deep dive sessions. So if you're interested or curious in what that roadmap really means in terms of different technologies, different projects, different products that can be developed, we brought along all our friends, all our network of the SDA to deep dive into some of the key topics on our roadmap. And again, it gives you a very good overview of what we really mean, and we really look forward to discussions and interesting questions coming from you. And it's for everybody. If you're in the building sector, technology, energy, there's something for everyone. Let's put it that way. With that, I would like to already hand it over back to Tom and the team. Thank you for inviting us again, and we're really happy to be here.
Great. Thanks, Max and Mo. Mo, you're an incredible speaker. Wow, I'm inspired. And at a very practical level, I like to make things very simple for myself. If our data centers are going to be computing more and more, let's make many of them and put them in our buildings and have them be heat sources, and we can cool them with our cool is we take their heat in exchange. So concepts like this, very exciting. And yeah, good, thanks. Thanks, Max. Okay, then we're going to head back now to Margot, and we're going to start presenting on the Green Deal, which is of interest, of course, to many. We have some calls with some deadlines in January. Let me get this presentation up in full screen mode. Almost there. Here we go. Okay, thank you, Margot. Once again, take us away.
Thank you, Thomas. I will be shorter this time because the policy context was already extensively presented, I would say. Here I would like just to give a short introduction, and the bulk of the presentation of the European Green Deal call with a focus on buildings will be presented by my colleague Sylvain Robert. The next slide, please. So the policy context, as you know, is the European Green Deal. That is the overarching strategy for the next mandate of the European Commission, specifying number of policy actions in number of areas of sustainability and climate neutrality, so environment protection, biodiversity, and of course energy transition. I will not stop longer here because this we already discussed. And the next slide is showing the overall architecture of the European Green Deal call that is basically reflecting this architecture of the strategy. So we have different areas here, 10 areas concretely, but overall this is the biggest call that is organized under Horizon 2020 with a total budget of €1 billion. Basically, yes, it provides this reflection of the strategy into the funding for research innovation. So area per area, I will shortly tell you under what are the topics under these areas. Increasing climate ambition, cross-sectorial challenges. Here you have two topics, wildfires and towards climate neutral cities. The area 2 that will be very much of interest for you because I've heard about the research topics that were mentioned by the previous speakers in this specific area. So we hope for interesting proposals here. So here we have 3 topics: innovative land-based and offshore renewable technologies. Develop and demonstrate 100 megawatt electrolyzer. So electrolyzer, I've heard about electrolyzer before. So it's an interesting topic, I think, and a great challenge for hydrogen. And then the third topic, Africa Partnership. The third area, it's about industry for clean and circular economy. closing the carbon cycle in industry, one topic, and the second, systemic solutions to deploy a circular economy. The fourth area on which we will focus now, and Sylvain will present you, there is one single topic about energy and resource efficient buildings. And then area 4, sustainable and smart mobility, green airports and multimodal hubs for sustainable and smart mobility. Area 6, it's about sustainability in agriculture, farm to fork, testing and demonstrating systemic innovation for sustainable food. Area 7, biodiversity and ecosystems, restoring biodiversity and ecosystem services. Area 8, zero pollution, toxic-free environment. And area 9 and 10, they are more transversal. It's about strengthening knowledge in support to European Green Deal and empowering consumers. So the next slide, please, will show you the timeline, the overall timeline for the European Green Deal call. The call is open, was open in September, and it will close on the 26th of January. So that's the deadline. And if you plan to submit a proposal, I hope you are already on the way to prepare it, because there is not much time left. And so that's the deadline. And then the evaluation process will take 5 months, and the successful applicants will be informed somewhere between May and June. And finally, the grant agreements will be signed between July and August. So it's 8 months from the call deadline. Just to tell you is that just to tell you about the topic. So the next slide that we will be focusing on under area 4. So building and renovating in energy efficient and resource efficient way. This topic will be implemented by part of the EASME agency that will move to INEA. So there will be a change in the agency's landscape. Current Department B of the agency EASME is moving to INEA. So ultimately, this topic will be implemented by INEA agency, but by colleagues, people working currently in EASME. So just to explain this element of the context for you to know. That's the summary summary information about this topic. It has the total budget of 60 million euro, and the budget per project that we expect would be between 10 and 20 million. So it's a really big project, like large and cross-cutting projects that we expect. It will be innovation action and technology readiness level moving from 5 to 7 and 8. I think that I will not go more into the detail, because Sylvain will present you more in detail all of this. And I will just take the opportunity to guide you with through the next framework program and buildings RNI that will be supported there. So the next slide, please, show you Horizon Europe areas where buildings and built environment will be supported. From the, let's say, more single technology perspective or construction sector perspective, the support will be located in cluster 4 under the area manufacturing technologies, where an area on enabling new way to build for construction with lower environmental footprint through modularization, digital technologies, circularity, advanced materials will be located. And then on the cluster 5, where I'm actually working directly, we will have a dedicated destination called highly energy efficient and climate neutral EU building stock. And within this destination, we plan to have a dual approach. First, to have a specific focus on buildings energy performance, looking at buildings renovation in a cost-effective manner towards nearly zero energy performance, using digital tools and design for monitoring and optimization of energy performance of buildings, and also cost-effective integration of renewable energy at building level and also at neighborhood level, and finally smart energy for smart buildings integrated into the smart grid. So this is from energy performance perspective the focus on buildings operation and buildings renovation and etc. Then we will have the second focus on a more cross-cutting manner on the challenge of transformation of built environment towards sustainability, climate neutrality, but also taking into account the people's need and the people-centric approach, user-centric approach to make simply this built environment better for living in the future. So going across different needs and different challenges that can be met in the built environment, and also respecting our cultural heritage and architectural quality of the built environment. So within this holistic approach, we will have the partnership on built for people, so on people-centric sustainable built environment, and the calls and topics will be more cross-cutting in this area. So that's everything from my side. I presented you the current call and the future, let's say, successors in Horizon Europe. And now I will pass the floor to Sylvain to go into the deep of the topic presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Margot. And so then, are you presenting these slides so I keep the same presentation?
I'm going to present my own slides. I mean, this is a different set of slides, so yeah, if it's fine by you. Yeah,
of course, yes.
Okay, good. Do you see the slides full screen?
Can see them, but not yet. Yes, Sylvain, we see the screen, but it's all white at the moment. Yeah, we can see them.
I see. Yep. Okay. So normally, I mean, it's supposed to be. Yeah. Now you see them. No.
Yes. Now we see them.
Oh no. Apparently, full screen it doesn't work. I don't know why. Okay. So let's try like this. And no, I'm sorry for this small technical issue. So I have two possibilities. Either I can present the slides like this, if it's good for you, or you can display the slides, Regis, up to you.
We'll switch back to Tom. I think it will be maybe a better quality. So I will, Tom, you are presenter again, so if you could share Sylvain's slides.
Sure, and we have plenty of time remaining, so there's no rush. And so then is the last presenter. So then I'll introduce you in just a moment. Let me get your slides up so I'm not trying to talk and do that. And in Adobe, the presenter button, how do I go into presentation mode? Is it in the view?
Full screen,
view?
probably. Yeah, full screen mode.
Thank you. And I see a full screen.
Yes.
Great.
Impressive.
Okay.
So we had mentioned it earlier, and I'll be bold. I'll even try to turn on my video while showing the slides for one moment. I'll try to be bold. So Sylvain has changed from CEA and he's joined the European Commission directly. He's been there for a few years, and now he's a project advisor in EASME, EASME. And Sylvain was the person that invited me to Savona to speak at Sustainable Places about R2M 4 or 5 years ago now, and that started the relationship. And I consider Sylvain the father of Sustainable Places, and we've just had the good fortune to carry it on a little bit. So it's great to welcome Sylvain in this new capacity, and to have this contact with Margot, as it's always been in the European Commission, and always in being a friend of Sustainable Places. So Sylvain, it's great to have you, and look forward to listening about the Green Deal in detail for Area 4. Please, Sylvain.
Thank you, Tom, and indeed it's a great pleasure to be here with you today. Yes, it's been quite some years that I've not been involved in this event due to my change of position, but of course I've had echoes of the success of the previous editions, in particular thanks to Margot. And well, I'm very glad to see that the event is not only living, but I mean it's growing, and I see that the ambition is growing. So it's great that you managed to do all this work of dissemination, of networking, with a strong focus on EU projects in this area of sustainability. And well, yeah, this is really an immense pleasure to be here to give you some information about this very ambitious goal that we have. So I think Margot already gave the main information about the topic. So I'm going to go directly to the details. So Tom, if you could go not to the next, but again the next one. Yes, perfect. So starting with the challenge of the topic. So of course, it's fully in line with the Green Deal's priorities, the Green Deal that Margot has presented for the building sector. So the topic text stresses the role of the building sector in achieving climate neutrality and the need to decarbonize buildings by 2050 in line with EU policies, and in particular in line with the Energy Performance of Buildings Directive. The challenge points to the objective to deliver zero emission and zero pollution buildings with a focus on the service phase, and also a transition to positive energy houses in sustainable green neighborhoods. This means that in this topic, we are not speaking only about buildings, but really we are speaking about neighborhoods, so a larger scale than individual buildings. The challenge also stresses two complementary aspects. One is the reduction of embodied emissions and improvement of energy efficiency in designing, constructing, and renovating buildings. And the other one is the transition to energy positive buildings relying on sustainable, renewable energy technologies. And finally, the challenge emphasizes the need to work on the combination of energy demand reduction, including effective buildings designs, and the integration of zero emission technologies. Next slide, please, Tom. Regarding the scope, so to summarize, one overall objective is to test the innovations across the whole value chain, also contributing to adapt that value chain to the innovations delivered. One other aim is to rely on innovation clusters in order to demonstrate, evaluate, and replicate the innovative solutions that will be delivered by the projects. An important point is that demonstration and validation of solutions should be carried out in the form of real-life living labs in order to raise awareness, to facilitate social innovation, and to promote education and training. And one last expectation is, as part of this slide, is that projects will contribute to coordination on relevant standards and regulatory aspects. Next slide. So continuing with the scope and in more details, the projects under this topic are expected to deliver at least 2 large-scale demonstrations in different regions of Europe for residential and non-residential, new buildings, and renovation. So the solutions proposed should address not only the building scale, but I already mentioned it, the design of green positive energy neighborhoods, and with a due consideration of the context. The projects should also address the whole construction and renovation workflow, from design to post-construction monitoring, and in consideration of a selection of challenges, which are the reduction of embodied energy, the demonstration of high replicability of solutions, the need to annul any negative effects on fire and seismic safety, the need to minimize occupant disruption, and the need to ensure post-construction and renovation monitoring. Next slide, please. So also in relation to the scope of this topic, it is asked that projects deliver effective designs, including active and passive solutions that are adapted to local environments and climatic conditions. And in this scope, projects should consider innovative and more energy efficient building integrated photovoltaics and digital methods and methods based on European global navigation satellite systems for design, construction, monitoring, and tracking of processes. So in relation to this point, we wish to stress that there is really a good link to make with the EGNSS, which can provide relevant support to the solutions developed in the projects. For instance, in relation to digital solutions for construction and renovation, or to smart sensing. On this specific point, we would encourage interested applicants to consult the Galileo user help desk on the web for any further information they could need. Next slide, please. So finally, in relation to the scope, the project solutions should include innovative, cost and energy efficient renewable energy generation in buildings, combined with urban service facilities and heating, ventilation and air conditioning technologies. Also, energy storage systems with bidirectional charging that don't limit the use of living space. And digital technologies for energy efficient building operation, reduced maintenance costs, improved comfort and health, and energy optimization at neighborhood scale. So those technologies, digital technologies, should enable a range of smart services, including but not limited to demand response, dynamic matching of generation and demand, and smart home services. Next slide, please. So the topic, as usual, lists a very clear set of impacts that are expected from the projects. Those are primary energy savings. I would say that these are the traditional ones. Investments in sustainable energy to achieve high energy performance of buildings, targeting nearly zero energy for renovation and positive energy level for new constructions. To reduce greenhouse gas emissions towards zero for the total life cycle, to reduce embodied energy in buildings by 50%, to reduce air pollutants towards zero for the total life cycle. And next slide. To demonstrate a high potential for replicability, to shorten construction and retrofitting time and cost by at least 30%, to improve indoor environment quality by at least 30%, and to reduce dust and noise during retrofitting by at least 30%. So it is important to note in this scope that relevant indicators and metrics with baseline values should be clearly stated in the proposals for those impacts. So voilà, so this is the first part of this presentation. Now, if you allow me, I'm going to give you a selection of highlights about projects which are ongoing in H2020 and that are relevant to the scope of this topic, as it could be useful for you as a source of inspiration and in any case as a source of useful information for your activity. So next slide, please, Tom. Yes, perfect. So in this scope, in highlighting these H2020 projects, I wish first to really highlight the link that exists between EU policies and the programs. Why? Because I come, as it was mentioned, from the innovation area, so from the research and innovation area, and I've had the opportunity to work a few years on policies, and in particular on the Energy Performance of Buildings Directive. And I've realized that there is still a bridge to make between these two words. And here, with this slide to illustrate this link, I draw on the example of the Energy Performance of Buildings Directive, the EPBD. I guess most of you are familiar with this instrument. The EPBD is the key instrument for buildings energy efficiency in the EU, and it has contributed to dramatically improve energy performance of buildings in the EU since it entered into force. The last revision of the directive in 2018 has much strengthened the focus on renovation and on digitalization of buildings. And as you know, and as Margot has mentioned, one aim of the Renovation Wave strategy is to further reinforce the regulation, and in particular to introduce additional elements in this directive. So as you can see in this slide, there are different components that support an effective implementation of the directive. I'm not going to detail all of them, but I would like to really emphasize the fact that the programs, and in particular the program for R&I funding, so H2020, is part of the components that contribute to the effective implementation of the directive. H2020 funds research and innovation, which actually helps prepare the sector to a more demanding and forward-looking policy framework, for instance, to adapt to more ambitious energy performance requirements. H2020 also funds market uptake, policy support, and capacity building actions, which help multiply the impacts of the policy framework on the ground. For instance, to improve the energy performance certification schemes implemented in member states under the PBD. So voila, with this example, really, I wish to stress that it is important to bear in mind this link between policies and programs in order to maximize the impacts of the projects that you are participating to or coordinating under H2020. Next slide, please. Tom, could we move to the next slide, please?
Yes, it's coming.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So H2020 has already funded a rich set of actions in the building sector. One key area on which this action has focused is market uptake of deep renovation solutions. One example is the Transition Zero project and the Energiesprong renovation approach. So Energiesprong is the combination of an integrated refurbishment package and long-term performance guarantees. The innovation lies in the limitation of costs by organizing volume demand and in the use of energy performance contracts. So this approach has been successfully deployed in the Netherlands, and the aim with the H2020 Transition Zero project was to promote and deploy the approach in other member states using the social housing sector as a catalyst. Next slide, please.
It's coming. Just takes one moment to load, Sylvain. Here it is.
It's fully fine. I think we can have a few seconds between the slides. So another important innovation area for the building sector is to industrialize renovation, and you know that it's one of the areas that are targeted by the topic I've just presented. So we need faster and more efficient construction processes to increase renovation rates while minimizing resource use, waste, and pollution, and to build also at a higher quality. With the H2020, EASME has funded projects advancing techniques that accelerate building renovation using industrial and digital processes, for instance, building information modeling, prefabrication, robotics, new processes and business models, and several first-of-a-kind demonstrations were achieved as part of those projects. Next slide. So H2020 has also funded projects aimed at improving awareness on the benefits of renovation and energy efficiency of buildings. One example is the Revalue project, which delivered a series of conclusions, guidance, and recommendations directed to property valuation professionals. This has improved the perception of risks and benefits related to energy efficiency, and it has contributed to unlock investments. So another major challenge in the same area has been to improve existing schemes that inform building owners and potential investors. And in this scope, energy performance certification under the EPBD is a key asset. Several projects have aimed at improving and future-proofing energy performance certification schemes in the EU. And this work will continue in the next programs. Next slide, please. EU programs also aim at creating the necessary market conditions to ensure effective adoption of innovation. In the building sector, the skills of the workforce is a key enabler, and several initiatives focus on upskilling. One good example is Build Up Skills, and this initiative, which started as part of the Intelligent Energy Europe program, has aimed since then to increase the number of qualified workers for high energy performance buildings renovation and nearly zero energy buildings. Many projects were implemented in the scope of this initiative. They have delivered, for instance, training schemes and tools for skill assessment, and they have covered different workforce profiles and skills. The latest actions have generally focused on skills related to digital construction. Next slide. So energy efficiency measures and renewable energy, as you know, go hand in hand, and this is reflected in the topic I've just presented. An important challenge is to ensure the seamless integration of renewable energy sources in buildings, hence the particular focus on BIPV. H2020 has already funded 8 projects for photovoltaics technologies in buildings, leading to ambitious demonstration and to the opening of new markets. One example of such project is PV Sites, which has delivered a set of real-life demonstrations covering a broad range of integration techniques, such as solar roofs or ventilated facades. Next slide. And also in relation to BIPV, addressing the whole value chain is needed in order to reduce costs. And actually 3 projects have aimed at this, dealing with all steps from architectural design to advanced manufacturing, installation and operation and maintenance. So voila, this is the end of this small journey through this selection of initiative. And if we go now to the next slide, by way of conclusion, I would wish to invite you to consult further information that is available on the web at the links displayed. And let me thank you a lot for your attention during this presentation. So I hope it has been useful. And I think there is a Q&A session afterwards. So I'm readily available to answer any question you could have. And please now let me give back the floor to the chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Sylvain. And let me step out of the presentation. Perfect. And as Sylvain had mentioned, it's time to use our question boxes, and Regis is scanning for the questions. So at this part of the session, we're at 11:43. We have until 12:30. We would welcome some interaction from the audience. We would welcome some of your questions. So if you have anything on your mind, please drop that into the question box, and Regis will read that to us, and we can direct it to the appropriate speaker. Please, Regis.
So we do have a first question for you, Sylvain. And so it's a question from Andrea Frazzica from CNR. So he's asking, the call presents a huge bunch of technologies and applications, as well as several impacts. Do you expect each proposal to cover all these aspects?
Sorry, I had not switched on the mic. So this is a very good question, which has been asked already a few times. It's true that the scope is very broad. It's not a requirement to cover all aspects listed in the scope, but really the most relevant to the proposal. One needs to ensure that both the first and second specific challenges of the topic are tackled in consistency with the concept envisioned in the proposal. And also one important point is to bear in mind is that, of course, there is a need to maximize the impacts generated by the proposal in regards to those listed in the call. So voila, this is the equation that the applicants have to solve, but the answer is no, you don't have to cover systematically all the aspects that are listed in the scope.
Thank you very much, Sylvain. There is another question which relates, so in the call text, there is a reference to establishing living labs and involving as well a local ecosystem for replication, or it can be a local, regional, or even national ecosystem. So could you, I mean, further elaborate on that and the way you envisage the proposals should address this point?
So indeed, there are two terms which are relevant in relation to this question. The first one is living lab, and the second one is innovation cluster. So living lab is, in our understanding, is an approach whereby citizens, inhabitants, and users are considered as key players in the innovation process. So we think that such approaches are particularly relevant for innovation targeting the establishment and sustainment of green neighborhoods, as is the case in the scope of this call. And the other term is innovation cluster, and it refers basically to a network of stakeholders, typically at local or at regional level, with an interest for research and innovation and the built environment, and also an ability to implement and demonstrate cutting-edge solutions for constructing and renovating buildings. So, as clarified in the call text, such clusters should act as impact multipliers by supporting demonstration, evaluation, and replication of the project's results, and also ensuring involvement of the whole value chain. So voila, I hope this clarifies a bit this issue.
Perfect, thank you, Sylvain. And another question in relation to what can be funded, and in particular, again, in relation to these technologies that you mentioned in your presentation. So you mentioned, for instance, BIPV components. So can you clarify whether this specific call is going to fund the BIPV components or perhaps just the innovation elements on top?
Well, this is a question that basically could apply to most of the topics that we fund, and I guess you, Regis, as you are very experienced in this type of call for projects, I'm pretty sure you would be able to answer it yourself. Anyway, in the specific scope of this topic, I think one main point is indeed what kind of cost would be covered as part of the demonstration in particular. So in general, of course, it's only the innovative part that is funded, that is eligible for funding. In the case of a build demonstration, only the costs of the construction and renovation elements that directly address the topic would be eligible for funding. This means that it's the innovation as part of this construction and renovation that is eligible. And by innovative part, we mean the elements of the building that are new with regard to the state of the art and to the state of the practice, and that are relevant to the scope of the topic. So this also includes related activities, for instance, to design, manufacture, configure, supply, install, and commission those elements. It's important to keep in mind that other parts of construction renovation whether they are linked to energy efficiency or not, would generally not be eligible for funding.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Sylvain. I see in the questions I'm monitoring, so we have it's more comment which applies to all presentations. I think it says these are complex topics, very well presented, so well done to everyone who presented this morning. We have a question about the presentation, so of course we will make them available after this session, as well as the whole recording. Tom mentioned that. It will be available on our website after the event. Tom, perhaps do you have some additional question? I see we have handled everything at the moment.
Okay. And great then. We've had participation of nearly everyone through the entire event. We're still at 100 persons. We get up to 110, so that's great. The only thing that well, let me close by thanking all of our speakers and everyone for joining. Of course, this is just the opening session. Now the rest of it happens, and I can't remark strongly enough. So we had 25% participation. We're at over 400 registrations to the opening. We know it will be hard for the workshops to get all of the audiences we'd like. We have, at large, made the event accessible to students. So for the workshops, we have offered students registrations for free. So if you have students that you would like to bring into your workshops, let us know and we will provide you a special link for that. Sustainable Places has always been student friendly. We are very, education is near and dear to our hearts, as are young people working in science, math, engineering, and European research. So we try to embrace that. So if we can help promote or get more people into your workshops, please let us know that. And I encourage everyone once again to support each other's workshops and each other's events. And we'll be posting everything we can from across the week. Please help us do that. And look forward to seeing everyone, for me personally, at the closing ceremony as well, where we'll get a first view into the events in Italy. We'll have a good look at how the Green Building Council networks support all of us in the European regional network across 27 GBTs in Europe. And then we'll have some remarks on the new European Bauhaus, which Margot quickly showed us, and we'll have some more visibility on that in detail. So with that then, I don't think any other questions have come in. Regis, we can close the session, and thanks everybody for being a part of the Sustainable Places 2020 opening ceremony. Thanks everyone.